because I'll be putting this up on YouTube. But again, I wanted to talk about anyone who watches this video. I want them to know that there is the NASO, which is the National Association of Sports Officials. They are the producers of Referee Magazine, and Referee
Okay.
Magazine just celebrated their 50th anniversary of releasing monthly magazines dedicated to all levels of officiating. But their primary focus is high school officials, since 98% of the officials in this country referee high school, either baseball, hockey, water polo, even pickleball. I met all sorts of supervisors, assigners, and state leaders in the meeting in Michigan. And we talked about the way that we get into this, and mostly it is because I know a guy, because they know that I enjoy it, so they want to give it a try. It's that social connection that brings people in. But speaking of bringing somebody in, we're going to be joined here by Brian Hoskin. Brian Hoskin is the director of officiating and rule interpreter for the state of Alaska. 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago this month, I refereed in Barrow, Alaska, on his invitation, together with a few other officials. And it was a great opportunity to get to be at the most northernmost football field in the world, and referee a
Oh,
game on that famous blue turf.
that's
So
awesome.
yeah,
What
so
level was
Brian,
that? That
that
was a
was a
high
high
school
school
level?
game, just a regular varsity
I
high
think
school
I
game.
think I saw a Netflix special on that team.
Yes, yes, I'm sure you did. I'm sure you
By the
did. Yeah,
way, I haven't done Zoom since the pandemic. How do I, if I want to turn the camera off, what is it, stop video or
yeah,
it? Okay. I'm gonna turn
yeah.
my camera off and just listen. And well, I'm still
Well, please contribute, if you have
okay. Yeah,
thoughts
yeah.
or questions. Yeah, so what we're going to be talking about today, though, is the big topic that all new officials need to know, and that is, what are the positions and what are all of their responsibilities? Um, this is the third official class. On Tuesday, I know that Dave Roberts, our secretary treasurer, went over the clock operation and timing and the rules. So today we're going to talk about the on-field officials.
Okay.
All right, and can you see the table of contents here on the board on the screen?
Yep.
Okay, great. So again, we'll start with just our local important information, sort of the business of the board, and then we'll get into basically all phases of a regular scrimmage down. Scrimmage down is any down that starts with the ball on the ground with a snap. So it's just a word in football that means the ball was snapped to start the play.
Okay.
So obviously we have responsibilities before the snap. We have responsibilities that kind of change as we approach the snap. And then at the snap, certain rules apply. And then other things become a factor once all the players start moving and they run their play. So we'll go over all of those different phases of that important action. Now, of course, that's not the only thing that happens in football. We also have kick plays, but that'll be for a future class. So the ECFO, the Eastern Connecticut Football Officials, run this clinic every summer. It's a 3-week clinic, 6 classroom sessions. Again, this is officially session number 3. We did session number 4 on Tuesday ahead of session number 3. And again, that's because of my trip to the NASO, I should say, again, NASO Summit in Grand Rapids, where Brian and I and our friends from MIBT.org attended and shared a lot of great um, officiating information with officials from all over the country, and including from Australia, from Canada, and there are all sorts of NASO members out there. Um, but for our board and our purposes, our season actually starts later than most other states. We don't start until Labor Day weekend. And that means that preseason scrimmages don't begin until the last week of August. And that means our rule test for veteran officials is not until the end of August. And we have a rule review picnic, which, Max, you're welcome to. Anyone is welcome to attend. You'll get to meet a lot of the veteran officials. It's at Groton, Washington Park, 6 p.m. on Wednesday, August the 19th. But
Nice.
in addition, for anybody who goes through this class, I will arrange on-field mechanic sessions at either Norwich Free Academy or Montville High School. It'll depend on the schedule for the people in the class as well as the availability to fields. I don't have those dates set yet, but those will be in early August. And we do have the state clinic, which is coming up a week from this Saturday. So not this Saturday, but the following week at West Haven. I believe it's West Haven High School. And finally, we get an on-field assignment. That is August the 16th at Ledyard Youth Facility, which is not that far from right where I'm sitting right now at the Montville Firehouse. Now, on the 25th, that is our first regular organizational meeting. That is a Tuesday. So anyone watching this video, mark your calendars, August the 25th, 6 p.m., Montville High School. If you missed that meeting, if you've got a conflict, understand that you must attend a rules and mechanics presentation from one of the 6 member boards in the state in order to officiate high school football this season. So let me know right away if you can attend so that we can get you a list of the other groups. There's one out of Hartford, there's one out of New Haven, and they hold their rules and mechanics meetings on other dates during that week to make sure that everybody can attend one.
Okay.
All right, so I always like to start with this slide before we get into officiating because at the end of the day, you can be mechanically sound, but if you're not doing these 10 things, you're going to look like you're unsound. So this came from official friend of mine, Josh Fath, who's in the ACC. He was presenting at the Blue Ridge Football Clinic, officials clinic a few years ago. And these 10 things, particularly I want to point out the basic things that you need to pass a job interview. You kind of do a job interview every time you step on a field. It's the energy, the passion, the attitude. It just needs to be apparent by the way you carry yourself. You need to have a professionalism about yourself. So not being late to the pregame meeting means being there 5 minutes early so that you can all walk in together as a crew. When you go to a youth field, you need to be there 30 minutes ahead of time. That means you're parked and out of your car 30 minutes before the game. You're not just finding a parking space. All of that shows the coaches, the players, and the spectators that we came to work the game today and we're going to be the best we can be. But of course, that doesn't require any talent. It just requires preparation on that day. Um, Throughout the season, it's really important that you are coachable because you're going to meet officials. If you're a new official, everyone's been doing this longer than you have, and they're going to have advice. And you need to be able to receive that advice, even if that advice runs counter to what I've said or what other veteran officials have said. You need to be grateful that somebody's taking the time to give you feedback or give you advice. So be coachable, thank them for it, put it in the memory bank if you think it's useful. If you don't think it's useful or it's too much for you right now, then discard it. But always be appreciative of the efforts that officials give. And of course, for yourself, number 9 and 10 are really important. We learned at that NASO clinic that relentlessness with your craft is critical to being successful at this game. It's a season that only lasts 3 months, and the youth season is really only 2.5. So if you want to make the most of this avocation, you need to improve every game. And of course, being prepared. Don't know how to say that any better than this list said, but this is what all of us do when we're passionate about the game and giving back to it. So let's get right into the mechanics. We'll start first with pre-snap responsibilities. Before the snap, there is a list of items that you need to do and to check. And there are 11 on my pre-snap routine for line judge. As a referee, I've got a list of 9, and every position on the field has their responsibilities that they have to do. But any new official, we really want to make sure that you know what the count is on the defense. Because whether you're going to be put into a varsity game your first time as a wing or as a back judge, you count the defense. That's your responsibility on the field and the crew. If you're on the wing, you need to know whether that widest receiver closest to you is on or off the line. Um, Now, Max, since you're our student here, why do we need to know whether that widest receiver is on or off the line? Can you take a guess?
Because you have to know there can only be four people in the backfield, and if he's off the line, then that could be a penalty when the ball is snapped.
Very good. Exactly right. Exactly right. And the guy who's closest to you is furthest away from anyone else. So by you giving an indication, it helps both officials on the line of scrimmage determine how many guys are in the backfield. So excellent. All right. Well, in order to do this the best, you need to line up on the line facing the field. If if you can see the clock, note whether or not it's running. If it's not supposed to be running, that's a time to intervene. If it isn't running and it is supposed to be running, again, we intervene. And remember that because if there's a false start, the clock should remain at the same point that it was if it was stopped before the snap. And sometimes, if there's a false start, we have a whistle, the clock will lose a few seconds. Now, that doesn't mean a lot if there's 10 minutes in the first quarter to go, but it could mean a great deal if there's under 20 seconds in the fourth quarter. So get in the habit of checking the clock in between every play and
What do you
signal what down it is. Yes, go on.
When you say intervene, you
Well,
wouldn't go.
we have a good 40 seconds or so between the end of a play and the beginning of the next play. It could be
Right.
20 seconds, it could be 40 seconds. So during that time, you should take a peek at the clock. Make sure you know whether the clock is running. We
I
keep the
guess
clock on the field. Yeah, go on.
my scenario is this: it's a first down. They temporarily stop the clock.
Hmm.
They don't restart the clock. The team is lined up, probably about 5 seconds away from snapping the ball. I'm not going to whistle to have them right.
No, that is the responsibility of the referee. But
Okay.
if they didn't start the clock, we have a silent signal. So if you simply give the wind the clock signal, your referee
Yeah.
will see you and he'll mirror.
Okay.
So you don't need to sound anything after a first down because the clock will start silently. So that's why it's so important to get a pregame with the clock operator so
Right.
that
And
they
the official
know.
time is on the field, so that
Mhm.
those few seconds aren't gonna. Okay. I
Yes.
just wanted to
Now,
make sure when you said intervene, it didn't mean a whistle. You know,
well,
that could
we
mess with the momentum.
oh, totally. And I'm just thinking of those moments when there's a grave error. So
Yep.
there have been moments, for example, where I've been working on a game and I noticed the clock's at 8:24 in the third quarter, and we run a play, and after the play is over, I look up and it still says 8:24. So in that event, we've made an error. Now,
Yep.
given that there's more than half of the quarter left in the third quarter, we may not do much about it, but that's one of the reasons in a varsity game we have radios and our clock operator is also a certified official. If he has a radio, we can radio up to them. But otherwise, that may be time to let the referee know, hey, that last play just ran and the clock didn't run at all. So being aware of that can really help the crew out and correct a clock malfunction or correct a clock error. So
Okay.
it's just good to be aware of it.
Yep.
But I put in bold the two things that you're going to learn first, and that is you walk up to your position, you face the field, the teams are getting ready to get into their play calling, and you have to count the defense. Now, you've been on the sideline as a chain crew guy. Can you tell me why it might be hard to count how many guys are on the defensive line?
You have linebackers who, whether it be goal line, whether it be
Mhm.
a blitz situation where they're blitzing or fake blitzing, uh, depending on, well, as a chain gang guy, it's difficult because of the vantage point.
Hmm.
Um,
Definitely.
because what's that?
No, definitely. I go on.
Yeah. But but yeah, counting defensive linemen, it could change from play to play, so you could get your mindset and seeing guys in a 4-3, and next thing you know, they have five guys at the line of scrimmage or three guys at the line of scrimmage, and you have to count for that.
Yeah.
Not to mention I guess substitutions are easy, but as long as one goes in, one goes out. But
That's a really good point because once you've mastered getting a count for defense, as long as you get them on first down, if you notice there haven't been any people coming on or off, you don't have to recount all the players every play. You just have to keep track of just like you said. One comes on, one goes off, two goes on, two come off, and then you still have 11. And once you
yep.
know that you've got 11, you signal with a thumbs up and you point that towards the defense. So let me show a play, and I got to change my screen, I believe. All right, can you see my screen with the play button?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let me back this up again. So, can you see which team is on defense?
Blue.
Okay, Blue's on defense. So, this is exactly what I'm saying. We're off at an angle so we can see those linemen. But when you're looking straight down the line, it can be difficult. So a lot of times what I'll do to try to get a count of those guys is I'll take a brief step into the offensive backfield on the line, on the sideline. I'll just step from where this guy is right here. I'll step one step to the right so I can peek down the line and see all of them.
Okay.
So if this is first and 10, then I can count, okay, I've got five guys on the line, and then I've got four guys back here, and then I've got two more guys over here. So I usually count groups. I don't count them one by one. If you know things about football, you know what a 4-3 is, what a 4-4 is. That can assist with getting a quick count of the defense. But what the direction he's going to want to point, and he's pointing right now. Can you see his left arm is raised?
Yeah. 11 on the D.
That's 11 on the defense. That's right. That's a
Yep.
physical point that he's doing. If this is a four-man crew, he is signaling across the field to the chain side, and his partner across the field is going to agree or maybe disagree if he has a different count. So that signal is indicating that you have 11, and your partner will signal that they have 11.
The partner is counting the offense though, correct?
No, you're both counting the defense.
Okay.
So the people counting the offense is this gentleman here in the middle of the field. Can you see my mouse pointer?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that gentleman, he's counting the offense. And there's also another one just off the screen behind the offense. That's the referee, and he is also counting the offense.
Okay.
So if you have a three-man crew, like a lot of lower level youth games, we don't have this umpire here. So the referee will count the offense by himself. And the two wings will count the defense. If we have
So
a bet, yeah, go on.
if a kid forgot to go out, he forgot he was still on D, and there was 10 men out there, which is legal.
Hmm.
There's no thumbs up.
No, we actually do another signal. So if you can see my screen, we take our 10 fingers and
Yep.
we tap our chests
Okay.
with our 10 fingers in our, open on our hands. That's my signal for 10.
Okay.
And that can be really, really important. And the reason that can be so important is because let me go to my screen again. Make sure I optimize for video sharing this time. That can be really important because they may realize it late and have a guy run on right before the snap. And then you don't have to worry that it's a penalty or not because you already knew it was 10 before that guy ran out.
Gotcha.
So it's good
Yeah.
to know that there's 10. If there's
All right.
12, you give them a second. If they don't run off, you have to throw a flag and you shut it down. So if
Oh,
you're this early in the progression and you've got 12 and nobody's moving, you throw a flag and you shut it down. But if you have a good count, you give that thumbs up or fist towards the defense so that your partner can see it, and then you move on to the next thing.
the flag would be thrown right about now if they're
Yep,
not moving, or yeah.
yep, yeah. There's nobody. Clearly, nobody's moving,
All
so
right.
they're in formation.
They don't have to
Um,
be set or anything like the offense doesn't have to be
no,
set. All
no.
right.
Basically, when the offense comes out of their huddle, if they aren't actively making a substitute at the time, then they're already getting into formation. They've already got 12. It's too late. But
Okay.
if they are actively making a sub, the huddle doesn't matter. If they're actively making a substitution, they've got 3 seconds from the time that the departing player is notified. So they've got a little bit of time when they're actively subbing.
Okay.
So in that case, you would let them go. Now, if they're actively subbing and the guy doesn't get off the field in time, that's a play you let run. It's what we call
All
a
right.
free play.
All right.
You throw the flag, you let him go because he's not going to participate in the play at all anyway. He's just going to run off the field.
Okay.
Now, if you have a 12 player situation and you just get to it late, they're going fast, they run their play, all 12 players participate, it's still a flag, and you flag it and let the play go, and then that's a bigger penalty than an illegal substitution.
At what's the last moment a defensive coach could call a timeout if he knew he was,
Well, I'll tell you when. Before that, if he called
before the snap?
timeout, yeah, before the snap. So I basically will give the defense some latitude if I know a coach is actively chirping about, we got too many, we got too many. Um, I'll say, Coach, you want a timeout? That's one of the things I can do with on a wing official. If they
Uh,
call a timeout and your partner across is throwing their flag, we're going to give the timeout
okay.
because timeouts are precious.
Yep.
So a 5 yard penalty probably doesn't mean as much to them as to the offense as the other team losing their timeout. So
Okay.
we will give them a timeout, but in the situation where they're locked in the formation, I'm not going to educate them. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the flag, shut it down, and make sure that the play doesn't run with 12.
Can any coach call a timeout?
It depends on the coach. That's a really good question. Now, if any coach says timeout, I'm going to grant it
Yep.
because I'm not looking back there. I don't know who that is.
Right.
If there's an adult on the sideline and he's in my ear yelling timeout, I'm going to call it. But
Okay.
most coaches want to take that timeout responsibility seriously, and they just give it to the offensive coordinator when they're on offense, or maybe themselves. Sometimes they'll give it to the defensive coordinator when they're on defense. In a lot of youth games, it can be a Wild West kind of random group of people that might call timeout.
Yep.
Um, but basically, they usually have to live with it if they can't figure out how to handle their sideline and someone on one of their coaches says timeout. Well, coach, you got a timeout.
Okay.
So, especially in youth games, it can come from any of those adults.
All right.
All right, I'm going to go to the next play. Go back to this. I got my gray bar here. All right, let me move that gray bar out of the way. All right, so again, we have substitutions on the sideline. If there's nothing happening, we're good to go. Let's look at this next play. Just so again you can see some of the signaling that happens. Back it up here. Okay, so um, do you see any signaling by either of the officials on the line of scrimmage?
The far official has his. Oh no, that's the box. So I thought that was his hand up. That
This guy right
yeah,
here.
I
He
thought
had
the
his
box
hand.
was his hand, but
Yeah,
the
that's
near
what.
official, I'm not seeing anything right now yet.
Yeah. So well, the reason I showed this is because a lot of times on a second down play, this is second down. If we
Yep.
had no substitutions, we know there's already 11. So by the time
Okay.
they're lined up in formation, a lot of times they've already done a thumbs up thing once the teams have come up to the line. So
Okay.
you don't hold it this long. By the time you get to this point, pre-snap, you've already dropped your count.
Okay.
So, so do you notice whether anybody on the offense would be considered to be a wide receiver?
Uh,
Can you see this guy over here?
yeah.
So,
Yeah. He's the
and it looks to me like he is up on this white line here. So he's pretty close to being on the line of scrimmage. Would you agree?
right.
It's
Yes.
hard to tell from this angle, but we can say again, you saw this other official over here. He's not lifting either of his arms. He's not putting any of his arms out. I think he's holding a whistle with one of his arms, but he's not punching anyway, any direction.
Okay.
So this means that this guy out here is on the line of scrimmage. He has been ruled to be on the line.
Right.
So even though they are snapping here from the, looks like the 36,
Yep.
and his foot is on the 35, we've judged him to be on the line of scrimmage. And that's good because this guy with the black, Guardian helmet and these three running backs already add up to four.
Yep.
So if we did say that this guy out here was off the line, then we'd certainly have to say that this tackle down here or tight end, I mean, is he on the line?
Yes.
Well, now look, all those players all the way down this line, they've all kind of using this big white line kind of as their space. So generally, when
Right.
we determine on the line, we're giving them almost a yard to be on the line. And for these linemen in the middle, all they have to do is be breaking the waist of the snapper to be considered on the line. A wide
Okay.
receiver that's split out way wide, give him as long as he's within a yard of the line of scrimmage, he's on the line. And I would say a smart thing to do is to make them legal. And if they were pushing it as far as being too far in the backfield, but they pointed and said they were on the line. You've seen that, right? They come up and they point,
Yeah. Oh yeah. They check. Yep.
right? If they check with you,
Right.
they basically indicate I'm on the line and you don't like it, you think they're too far back. Let the play run.
Yep.
And then when they come back, say, "Hey, listen, you got to get up on the line. You're not close enough." And
Okay.
they'll work with you. But the best time to work with these receivers is during the pregame
Okay.
when they're doing their walkthroughs. You go over, you work a couple walkthrough practice plays, and you talk to the receivers about how you want them to check.
Okay.
All right, let's go to the next play and see some other signals. Let's keep out of this and go back to number 3. So I know Brian is here listening to us, but I'll just let you know, Brian, that they were supposed to let me into the firehouse. We were supposed to do our class, and they forgot to come by and unlock the door. So
I did notice that you appear to be sitting in a vehicle, which uh,
yeah, I'm in the
must be a
parking lot.
volunteer fire department.
It is. It is absolutely. Again, Brian, this is Max. Max, this is Brian.
Hi,
Right.
Max. Good. I'm glad you're on board and learning from one of the best.
Yeah. This is good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Let me check.
All right, let's look at the next play. Let me go right back to the snap. All right, now in this time you can see there is a wing back receiver.
Yep.
See, So that receiver
Right.
is the furthest wide receiver on that side of the field. So you would punch him back. You would put a fist back for him. And that would mean
Okay.
he's one of the four. Now, the
Yep.
quarterback with the Guardian helmet, he's also a back. And then we have these two other backs over here. So one wing official's punching back. That doesn't make it a foul yet. The other official is now counting. If he also punches back, then we have a problem.
Okay.
And this is why we do a physical signal in Connecticut. We make
Punch.
sure that both sides can see. If they're both punched back, then you start counting the other backs in the backfield to make sure that that doesn't make 5 receivers in the backfield.
Gotcha.
So in this case, we've got
So
just
what about a
one. Go on.
what
Sorry.
about a one back? I'm sorry. What about a one back scenario? You're gonna have a double punch back then, right?
Yeah, totally.
All right.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right.
That happens. Like think of a double slot.
Yep.
In a double slot, you're going to have 2 wide receivers that are back. Sometimes they invert the slot and they'll put the inside guys on the line and the outside guys back, in which case you would have a double punch back.
Okay.
And you hold that punch until the snap in situations like this because they could go in motion, switch sides. They could step up onto the line and maybe the tight end will get up and step back. In
All right.
which case you would drop the arm. So you don't change the signal until the snap happens.
All right.
Let me go to the last play on this slide. One more formation situation. This one we can see down the line a little bit better. And also we get a good look at a clock. Some of our clocks here in Eastern Connecticut, this is Bacon Academy, are right there at the 50-yard line on one of the sidelines. So if you're the official at the bottom of the screen here, you're going to be primarily responsible for whether the clock is correct.
Okay.
When the scoreboard is on behind one of the end zones, of course, the wing officials might be able to see, but the referee and the umpire or back judge will be responsible for the clock primarily. All 5 of you, or 4 or 3, still need to know what the status is. But it's rare that on video. There's still only 2 schools in this area that put it on a spot that can be captured by video during a play like this. So anyway, it looks like if I'm reading it correctly, this is 1st and 10 from the 45-yard line, and it's the 4th quarter. Now,
Okay.
at this point, if you look in the bottom of the screen, let me click somewhere else. I think you could see, oh, darn it. That scroll bar makes it hard to see it because he's kind of grayed out. You can see his right arm is pointing towards the offensive side.
Yep.
So that's another wing back situation. So again, it's the same formation I just showed you, but from a different angle. And you can see here that the receiver on the far side, near the top official on the screen, is on the line because he's not punching back.
Okay.
And this also gives you a good view of really how you should totally be able to see the other official, and that's why you guys are considered partners.
All right.
But you can't really hear each other. So the visible signals are so important in these situations. All right, we'll run a play. All right, now, how long of a pass was that pass? How many yards did it gain?
3.
3 yards. I want to point out that the official on the top of the screen moved. Do you think he could have officiated that play from where he started just as well as from where he ended up? Here's where he ended up. And
Yep.
he started right here. Did it improve his ability to see that play by moving closer to the receivers? Or do you think he would have been fine from where he started? There is a correct answer here. So I just wanted to see what you think, and then I'll tell you what the mechanics manual tells us to do.
I would say, yeah, the yard and possibly the obstruction. Maybe he had to get out of the view of other players to find an open view of how the play ended. So I'm saying the movement somehow probably benefited him, and that's why he did it.
I certainly think he felt he was doing the right thing.
Yep.
Let's watch him again as the play goes. So he starts moving even before the receiver heads his way. So what he's
Okay.
doing is kind of an older school approach where
Yep.
when we read pass, and if you look at the offensive line, you're going to see that they stand up. They kind of drop back. They're forming a pocket. So you're looking at that offensive line action, you read pass.
Yep.
And in the old days, we used to mosey downfield. And part of it was because a long time ago it was only four officials and we had nobody deep and there was no back judge. So we had to move down the field. And I would argue that if you're doing a three-man game, you may want to move down the field. But I will also say in a three-man game or a four-man game, you're not going to see passes that go much further than this one. So I'll tell you, Max, and for anyone listening, hold the line of scrimmage.
Okay.
Just hold it.
Yep.
You don't need to move until you have to. If you hold the
Okay.
line of scrimmage here, you'll be able to see this play just fine. And the worst thing that can happen is, what if these players, with all the momentum, take themselves right out of bounds and you're standing there? You've been on a chain crew. You know how dangerous
Yeah.
it can be, right? If he had held the line, he's a lot safer. So just hold the line of scrimmage. You don't need to move to see the play. You can turn your head, but the more still you are during this play, the better chance you'll have to see whether this defender pushes him in the back, whether there's an interception, whether it's a catch. You'll be able to see just fine from the line of scrimmage. So